There you are.
Hey, Will. I'm so sorry. I think this is my first Instagram live, so I wasn't quite sure where to click. So thank you.
Oh gosh, don't even worry about it. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect.
Okay, good. We'll make sure. Yeah, all that's on.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. It's not just you. There's almost always, whether it's on my side or somebody else's, a positive will verify.
Technology.
Always something at the beginning, but glad to have you on here.
Thanks.
So you're principal of two national organizations that support coaching, mentoring for the healthcare leadership needs for hospitals in the U.S. Why don't you, in your own words, tell us a little bit about kind of what it is you're doing, your journey to get here, and your goals moving forward here.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for a million years and have had an amazing nursing career in terms of just being able to do all different kinds of things: flight nursing, critical care nursing, teaching, lots of different things. Ended up in hospital administration, was a chief nursing officer, chief operating officer of a couple of different hospitals, and then had an opportunity probably about 10 years or so ago to start my own business. And so so I've got kind of two hats that I wear. One is on the side of the hospitals. And what I do is I focus on healthcare consulting and executive recruitment for hospitals. And that's kind of been my mainstream, career over the past 10 or so years. The other thing is that I was introduced to a product and a different lifestyle probably about 5 years ago, and a year or so ago decided to incorporate that as another hat of business. And so that's one of the other things that I'm doing and related to health and related to ketones, and we can talk more about all of that. So.
Yep. Okay, great. Well, thank you. Yeah. So, and what are you most passionate about right now? If I were to say, just clear your brain, if you could just focus on one thing right now and for the rest of your life that you're most passionate into, what would it be?
I would probably say that my greatest passion is something that's kind of brought the two aspects of my background together. Being in healthcare, you're obviously exposed to how people live their life, how they are affected by their health, all those kinds of things. And I would say that, what I'm most passionate about is helping people understand that they can change their health, that without our health, we have nothing. I mean, I look at things like, the CDC puts out a statistic that says that 1 in 6 Americans has at least one chronic disease, and 4 in 10 Americans actually have 2 or more. That's a really, really frightening statistic to me. And I think we've seen that in so many different ways. But, I've heard you talk about how, sometimes we don't even know what our best life looks like or what it feels like. And sometimes I think that it's the same thing with our overall health, that, maybe we just don't even know what good health really feels like. Right. And how it can impact those 5 core things, how it can impact everything in our life. And so I'm really passionate about letting people know that there are options, that we don't have to look at it as, oh my God, my parents, gave me this, or, it's in my history or whatever. We can turn around our health. We can live a better life, and with a healthier lifestyle. And that's going to affect everything that we do.
Well, that's right. Well, it really does. Right. It's part of what I'm always, it's like, I feel like people from a 10,000 foot view, like, oh yeah, I know my health affects my everything else in my life, but people don't really realize just how much, and they kind of take it for granted, I think. And they think,
yeah.
Oh, and then all of a sudden they get it, life's about habits, and you get into your habit of, you either take care of your health and you exercise and you get enough sleep and you eat well, and eat. And what does eat well mean? Right. I mean, so like you're saying that it's a very confusing world, especially with like living in today. Like, I mean, you lived 100 years ago. It's like, all right, you didn't really have many options other than what was on your farm, which was all fresh. They didn't have the preservatives and stuff. So it's like, you were getting the goods, whether you liked it or not. And now it's like so much stuff to choose from. And then on top of that, so many people coming at you in so many directions from so many different social media platforms on what's good, what's bad, what you should do. I mean, it's very overwhelming. So
yeah, it is.
Let's hear about, so your keto is your thing. basically, right?
Yeah,
That's your,
and not necessarily the ketogenic diet. I mean, I think a lot of times people hear they may know things about the ketogenic diet. It might scare them. It might feel like it's something completely overwhelming, because it can be. Um, it's a very difficult lifestyle to follow. And if someone isn't familiar with the ketogenic diet, I would just simply say that we're talking about a diet that is very high in fat and extremely low in carbohydrates, 3 to 5% of your diet being carbohydrates. That is a really, really difficult food plan to follow. But when people are able to follow the ketogenic diet, their body ends up going into ketosis, just meaning that we've got ketones in our system, in our blood system,
right.
and we experience probably optimal human performance. Everything from our brain health to our energy to our sleep to our mood to our strength, all of these things. So it's incredible. And when someone is able to follow the ketogenic diet and get their body into ketosis, they are probably going to feel better than they have ever felt in their life. Because of that challenge of how difficult it can be, I was introduced to a product a couple of years ago that is exogenous ketones, meaning that it's something you can drink and put in from the outside instead of your body producing the ketones from diet, but a drink that you can consume that actually puts your body into ketosis in less than an hour and gives you the ability to experience ketosis without having to follow that restrictive of a diet plan. And I think once people experience that, which you can experience the first time you drink it, you kind of recognize that, maybe I've been feeling like crap and didn't even realize it,
All
So,
right.
yeah.
So that's interesting, right? So it's kind of like a way to, as you know, gamification is everything about what I'm doing. And for those that are listening for the first time or aren't familiar, my definition of gamification is using science and what we know about the human brain to kind of almost trick your brain into taking the actions that are good for you, right? So reducing the friction to say, okay, yeah, this makes sense, and then all of a sudden you start taking that action, and if you can continue to do it, then all of a sudden it's a habit and it's on autopilot, right? You got
absolutely. I mean, and it's all kind of about biohacking. It's like, are there ways to kind of achieve what you want to achieve and maybe not necessarily take the hardest road, which is probably why so many people, kind of turn away from things that might be better for their lifestyle or whatever. But yeah, absolutely. And I think that, it is just a matter of trying to experience a certain feeling, experience life at a certain level, and then thinking about how can you be there. With the ketones, when if somebody is just drinking the ketones, they're getting the benefit of being in ketosis. But a lot of people will say, well, what about, what if I want to lose, or I've heard that so many people lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 200 pounds, whatever it might be, with the help of the ketones. And I think what people have to recognize is that you can drink ketones, you can get ketones into your system, and your brain is going to kind of go on fire. Your brain is going to wake up in a way that maybe it hasn't in a while. But if you have a desire to lose body fat, you've got something that's helping to accelerate the fat loss process, but you also still have to decrease your carbohydrates. You don't have to follow the ketogenic diet strictly 100%, but if you just start decreasing your carbohydrate level, all of the aspects of the ketones working together with that are going to help people achieve their fat loss goals, along with all the other things.
Right. So I feel like this is a good example. This is a good way to kind of gamify transferring over, because it's like you want to start. One of the core elements of any new habit you're trying to develop is starting small and slow. If you try to go too fast, 99% of people are going to go, wait, this is a completely different lifestyle than I'm used to. There's no way, right? And so this sounds like kind of a nice way to reduce the friction as a kind of an intermediary. And then maybe once they, as you said, kind of get a taste for how that feels, and that Like,
Yeah.
wow, I really like this. I want more of this.
Yeah.
And then they can, if they want, completely transfer over to the full ketogenic keto diet. So I have a friend who's full keto. We'll call it full keto, and it is amazing. So I didn't know him pre-keto, but he's lost about 150 pounds. He's the big, very large, guy, and I didn't know him then. I only know him now, and he's like my size. And so, but he is. I got to tell you, I don't know how much is nature and how much is the keto, but he's one of the happiest, friendliest, coolest people I've ever met. And I do wonder, I've interviewed several people that are keto experts and talk about how great it is. And, they all say the same thing, that it puts you into this, you feel better than you've ever felt. And I got to wonder, I'll be honest, my instinct has been kind of like, does it though? But the more I hear about it and the more I see him, and then there was another friend that tried it and he started to kind of get there, and I saw changes in his whole vibe and stuff as well, but then he wasn't able to continue it. So I do think there's something there on that.
Yeah, it's really, I think if you were to talk to your friend and ask him, what was it like when he first started to transition into the ketogenic diet? Most people will go through what's considered the keto flu. And, you're making a big change with your body. Your body is used to this standard American diet, which is a very high carbohydrate diet for the most part. And now all of a sudden you're, significantly decreasing these carbohydrates. Your body goes through this keto flu, which for some people can last a couple of days. Some people can last a couple of weeks, and you don't feel good. I mean, it's called the keto flu because you feel like you've got the flu. Right. The great thing about the exogenous ketones is that you completely bypass that aspect. Your body goes into ketosis right away, and so you don't have to go through that process. So a lot of people, even if they want to follow the ketogenic diet, or they are following it, they do like to supplement with the exogenous ketones because it helps them kind of avoid some of that transition, the difficulty in transitioning that. But it's interesting when you talk about kind of the mood, the attitude, all those kinds of things. I think it's important for people to understand that ketones are a fuel. They are just like glucose is a fuel, but you're kind of transitioning. Instead of glucose being your main fuel, you've got ketones being the fuel, and your body and your brain especially prefers ketones. And you mentioned research before. All of that is based on research. 100 years ago, that was actually when the ketogenic diet was discovered, back in the 1920s. And it was originally discovered and put together for children that had epilepsy. So we're talking about massive focus on brain health. And what they found was that when they're able to get children to follow this ketogenic diet, which is what they ended up calling it, that their seizures would either significantly decrease or go away completely. And so there was there's been a lot of research over the past 100 years, but I would probably say more of it in maybe the last 10 or 15 years, because of recognizing that not only is the ketogenic diet and being in ketosis something that can help us physically, but it's just the best thing that we can do for our bodies to kind of take it to the next level. It's interesting, the company that makes the ketone product that I work with is called Prove It, and Prove It's mission is, and I love this so much, where their mission is inspiring people to become a better version of themselves. To me, that is so simple and yet so powerful, because it's not saying that you have to become this, you have to, you've got to reach this goal. It's saying that wherever you are today, you can take it, you can make it a little bit better. And that might be in how you feel. It might be in how you act. It might be in how you sleep. It might be in, just your strength. And when you've got, everybody from your everyday Joe who's able to work off of, drink this kind of a drink and have this kind of a fuel, to all the way up to Olympic athletes who recognize that, for them, better might be just a fraction of a second in their timing for whatever their athletic ability is. So it's pretty amazing. And I loved learning about your cores and the 5 areas that you focus on, because when I think about what I'm doing and how I'm, trying to preach this whole focus on ketones, I feel like it impacts absolutely every one of those 5 areas, in how you think, how you're performing, how your relationships are, how your health is overall, mentally, physically. So I felt like it was a great, it was a great blend,
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, totally. And, these 5 core areas, it's taken me a lifetime. So I had a rough start to the world, and, we all have our struggles, and I'm one of these people that's grateful for the start that I had, because I wouldn't be where I am today. I don't think I know. And now I wouldn't be, my life's mission to be helping other people that may have had a rough start. So, and which is a great way to live,
Yeah.
and to live a life where, you're serving. It sounds cheesy. And I remember I used to think it sounded so cheesy for so many years, when people would be like, well, no, trust me, it's about giving back. It's, it's about, giving. And I'd be like, whatever. Because when you're young, especially, it's like, no, me, what's coming my way? I want more stuff. That's Saturday Night Live sketch. Insert that clip here. I just want more stuff. But then you realize, like, as you start to get older and wiser, and especially, I think it's really hard if you haven't made any money. If you're fortunate enough, like me, to have made at least a chunk of money at a certain point, and you go, well, shit, that didn't make me as happy as I thought it would. And if that's all I'm working towards, okay. And then what happens to a lot of people, if they do get to that stage, which unfortunately a lot of people just spin their wheels their whole lives trying to make money and get to that, oh, if only I had this, I'd be happy stage.
Yeah.
But then if they are fortunate to make money or whatever, and be set basically for life, or whatever, at least have enough to live, then 99% of people then to go chase more, because they think,
right,
oh, well, that felt good for 5 seconds, but now I need to get to this next level, right? And that's this miswanting that we have as human beings. I took this course, The Science of Well-Being. It's a Yale course. It's free. It's on Coursera. I highly recommend it to everybody. And it just really goes into these miswantings that we have as human beings. And it's got study after study after study, and how they create this unhappiness in us. They make us less happy because we think we want this. We think we have to get the good grades. We think we have to have the good job. We think we have to be the best looking in the room, but it's a mind fuck. And that's not really the reality, because even if you had those things, then you focus, your brains can find something else to focus on, right? Like like the perfect example, the lottery ruined my life. There's a reason there's a whole show based on that. And then, you look at these beautiful people, and, how could they possibly have any problems? They have problems just like everybody else. If your mind's not right, if you don't have these core areas, your mindset, your relationships, your physical health, your emotional health and giving back, your career and finances, all kind of working together and finding balance in those and continually growing, you're not going to be happy. You're going to be like, what is that? And if you try to scratch it with drugs, alcohol, making more money, then you're going the wrong way.
Right. And it just always, it makes me think about the fact that I kind of see a relationship between being satisfied with something and being content with something, that I've always felt like, we have so much to be grateful for in our lives. No matter what our circumstances are, there are still things to be grateful for. And we should live with an aspect of satisfaction with where we are today, but yet always, not necessarily be content. And that's the balance between, content meaning, keep going for the opportunities. There are things that if you want to achieve them, you can keep going for it. You can keep achieving it, versus what you're talking about, as well, where, you see all these things on social media and you think that you have to have this certain type of life or look this certain way. And that has caused a lot of, I think, mental challenges for a lot of people, thinking that.
Well, depression's at an all-time high for teenagers. It's not guessing anymore that there's a correlation. There is a correlation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the habits that you can get into in each of these areas, right? So Obviously, with what you're doing, the eating, what you're putting into your body, you know, that's such a huge habit. And, you know, if you're not paying attention to it, oh, what's the harm in a few Cheetos or this, or, you know, late night snack, it's Doritos instead of, you know, mixed nuts or whatever. Are there certain habits that you've developed that you want to share with people, and maybe ways to gamify it? And again, by gamify, you know, for instance, the example that I just gave, it's like, okay, eye level in my cupboard, I know that I'm going for a midnight snack because it's what I do. And rather than try to like use willpower and be like, nope, I'm not going to eat, which doesn't work, because eventually your willpower is going to run out of energy, and it's going to take over, or your resistance is going to run out of energy. You replace what's at eye level with what you want to eat. That's a way to kind of trick yourself. So it's like, if that's all that's there, you've got the mixed nuts, you've got the, you know, beef jerky, you know, whatever it is, versus, you know, the cookies and the ice cream and these types of things. So are there any examples of things that you do in that regard?
Yeah, you know, the one thing I'll just mention, just because you made me think about it, is that the one thing I want to say about the exogenous ketones is that they are a tool to partner with your desire for change. And you know, everything that you just said, we all, you know, we get hungry, we want to eat the first thing we see, whatever. The reason why I think this is such a phenomenal tool is because the ketones actually help to decrease your appetite and decrease your cravings. So when people start drinking the ketones, they all of a sudden start realizing, you know, maybe I don't need that ice cream at night. Maybe I'm okay without it. Maybe I, you know, don't need the cookies, or I'm okay with something else. So having a tool that can help with, you know, kind of transitioning those behaviors is really powerful to me. But I think for me personally, I think some of the habits and some of the things that I have put in place and in my life, the first thing is that I wake up very early every morning. I wake up at 5 o'clock every morning, and I work out. It's the first thing that I have to do, because typically the rest of the day is going to go to hell, and I'm not going to get a chance to work out later, or there's going to be too much in the way. So I like to wake up early and go to the gym. It's not the easiest thing to do. I mean, a lot of people will just feel like, oh, I could never do that. Well, every morning I feel like, oh, I could never do it either when the alarm goes off. But somehow you just get yourself into that habit, get out of bed. Within 5 minutes or so, you're good to go. You know, wash your face, brush your teeth, get your clothes on. So, you know, doing that first thing in the morning it's what starts my mind, it's what starts my body, it's kind of the whole thing. So that's really important to me. I'm also drinking the ketones first thing in the morning on my way to the gym, so that is giving me some of the fuel that I need to start the day as well. I think the other thing, you know, that really helps me is that I start to prepare the night before. So when like tonight, before I go to bed, before I do anything else, I will get my emails where they need to be. I will get I just kind of have to finish off, not that I'm always done with my projects, because I never am done, but I can, I want to make sure that I feel like tomorrow when I, sit down to start working, that I am not completely overwhelmed right from the get-go. So it's really important for me to feel like I am kind of catching up with things. I am looking at my schedule for tomorrow. I'm thinking about how my day is going to go. And then it just helps me tremendously. I'm even putting out the clothes that I'm going to wear in the morning. That's another thing, is just, I'm getting up at 5 o'clock. I'm half asleep. I'm, trying to get ready to go to the gym. I don't want to think about what I have to put on. So it's done. It's there. I'm just putting it on. I'm good to go.
I like that.
That helps a lot. I think too, just in general, I think, and I don't know if I would necessarily call it a habit, but I kind of tend to see the opportunity in everything. There's so many things around us that if we can see the opportunity, and whether it fits in our life or not, or maybe it fits in somebody else's life that we know. But I feel like that's always been a really positive way to look at what's going on around me. And then also just seeing the potential in others. I've been amazed throughout my career how many times I've seen the potential in someone when they couldn't even necessarily see the potential in themselves. And it's really been fun to have those opportunities to mentor people or to coach people or to give them the tools to recognize that they can take their life, their career, whatever it is, to the next level. So, but I think that, those are a couple of the mental habits, I guess, and some of the physical habits that I do that just help me, a lot.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. So, I mean, this is the key to life is everybody. So we all have systems. Systems are, these structures that at some point in our lives, we have figured out how to take one step in front of the next. And as babies, our systems are created by our parents basically determine our system, right? And then we start to get a little older, and then it's our peers, and then it's media, and then it's school, and then sometimes we look at our parents' systems and we go, those aren't so good, right? And
right.
So, and what's kind of goes going back to what we were talking about earlier, it's a very difficult time to live. In one way, we've got all this, just like Stan Lee once said, with great power there must come great responsibility. We have all this technology and all this the quality of living has gone way up, but yet we're becoming less happy. And I think a big part of it is there's just so much stuff coming at us, and it's like, what system are we using? Like, you just gave us an example of systems that you're using, and you look at elite athletes and people that have just crushed it in their goals and whatever they're doing, they all have systems, right? And I think what's frustrating for people is like, they go, oh, well, I want that system, or I'm going to listen to that person. But we're all different, and we all have different wants and likes and strengths and passions. And we go to bed we're awake at different times. So you can't just blind copy somebody else's system.
Exactly.
And that's what I try to help people to do, is sort of say, all right, well, let's create your own custom system. Because if you're going to have one, let's make sure it's building the most possible momentum and growing these main core areas of your life and your habits.
Yeah, I love it. And I mean, and it's really true. And you're right that, you can't just look at, that's why, you buy all these self-help books or whatever it is and think, well, here's the plan. Well, that may or may not be something that really is going to benefit you or fit in your lifestyle. And sometimes it's just some really simple things like, I've got like 3 candles burning over here. I typically have candles burning in my office, not only for the smell and the, aromatherapy kind of thing, but also, I use those ones that have the wicks that kind of make that little crackling sound. It just is so comforting. And no matter what the stress is that I'm going through, it just kind of balances things out. And, besides that, now I don't have them here because they'd be making noise, but I've got a couple of dogs that are typically at my feet. And it just, I don't know, that unconditional love that surrounds me just kind of balances me out a little bit. So it's just some really simple things that, sometimes can just help you cope,
Well, that's it. And habits are these things. So that these are habits that you developed, that you found, okay, these are good, right? And you just, and so in a perfect world, you are aware of all the failure habits that are making you less happy and not allowing you to cope and whatever it is. And you literally just systematically replace them one by one with the success habits. Because once a habit's formed, that's the cool thing about habits. They don't give up.
Right.
They don't care. They do their thing. They compound over time, right? And so I call it the equation of life. Your belief system plus your repeated actions plus time equals who you will become. And that belief system, the way you look at the world, the actions you take, then, that they're going to form the habits that you have, and then those are going to compound. And so it's like, what are you fueling your life with? What are the habits?
Yeah, exactly. It's really true. I mean, so much is, what are you fueling your body with? What are you feeding yourself? How are you moving? I mean, all of these pieces that kind of bring all that together and can impact how a day goes. Because we're all going to have things that just throw us off, whatever
Right.
And I think even from a health perspective, we're all just a phone call away. I mean, from a doctor call, a lab test that comes back that, completely changes our lives. But I think that we have a level of control that we can take, whether it's how we're thinking or how we're feeling or how we're, physically what we're physically doing for our body to make us as strong as we can physically and mentally to cope with whatever it is that's coming our way, you know?
Right. Totally. So, well, I love it. And so I like to kind of, when I'm wrapping up, I like to talk about, you know, we've talked a little bit about some of your habits, you know, in terms of where you're headed. So let's first establish, you know, where do you see yourself in the next 5-10 years? Like if you could achieve any just outlandishly big, crazy goal, what would it be? And then let's talk about one habit that you are going to make sure that you develop to be able to achieve that goal.
That's interesting. Okay, so 5 years from now, I mean, I think that, you know, one of my goals is, as I was mentioning, I have kind of these two rabbits that I'm chasing between my healthcare business and my ketone business. And what I really hope to be able to do is to be able to kind of shift the balance so that I am able to focus a lot more on the ketone side of things and shift. I'll never completely walk away from the healthcare side because it's been my life and my career, you know, forever. But I think just to be able to continue to shift that down a little more and continue to shift my focus on the ketones to a higher level. And part of the reason for that is because I feel like I can impact so many more people. You know, if there's just a handful of people that are listening, you know, today that, you know, decide that they want to start changing their life and changing their health, and I can help in any way, that's just everything. So it's not necessarily a financial goal, but I think if I'm able to reach a high level with the business that I'm involved with Prove It, that says a lot. To me, that says I've been able to reach a lot of people. I've been able to impact a lot of lives, and in a very, very positive way, whether it's because they decided to come into the business and now they financially are gaining from that, or whether they just decided that they wanted to start shifting their health and the kind of fuel that they're putting in their bodies. So I hope that just continues over the next couple of years, and that's really where I plan to keep my focus. And as far as, you know, kind of that habit to maybe shift away from to be able to support that goal, that's really interesting, because I would probably have to say that I mentioned before that I see everything as an opportunity. That's really good and that's really bad sometimes, because I end up, you know, getting involved with a lot of different things. Maybe it's different programs, maybe it's different mentors, maybe it's different, you know, different tools that are out there. And you could end up kind of going down this rabbit hole of learning,
Yep.
and not necessarily doing.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so I think that is one of the things that I think I have to do a better job of is, you know, taking all those things that I've got today, don't add any more, I got plenty, but really kind of prioritizing them and recognizing that I can't do them all. I can't follow every guru that's out there. I have to figure out who's best, what's best for me, and what can actually take my business to the next level. So that's probably the biggest goal, I think, and biggest habit that I need to focus on.
Yep. So action versus right.
Yeah.
And that's you know, I think that's a very common one that a lot of people have, including myself. I'm a list guy. I'm constantly, you know, when I see something or read something that excites me, or that I'm like, yes, that's it. That's the secret to the universe. Then I'll write it down. And then all of a sudden what ends up happening, I've got all these different things here. And it's like, okay, well, but what am I actually doing to put those into play? And are they going to sit there and gather dust, and I'm going to forget about them and never touch them anymore? And that's the worst thing that you can do. So, I think prioritizing what, you know, knowing kind of where you want to end up. I have this exercise. It's called the Back to the Future exercise. It used to be called the funeral list, but that was depressing, where essentially you flash forward to the end of your life and you say, okay, what do I want said at my funeral? And I do it for each of your 5 course. And to me, that just gets rid of all the bullshit and everything else that's going on in your life. And it's like, okay, well, this is what's important to me at the core of my being. This is what I want said about me. Okay, so now it's time to design your life around that and start building your habits around it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, really, it's what's the legacy that you want to leave? You know, whether you're, you know, running some massive business or whether you're just, you know, kind of living your life, what's the legacy you want to leave?
That's it. Well, thank you so much, Nita. This has been a really lovely chat, and I'm so glad we got to know each other. And thank you for sharing some nice little pieces of wisdom and parts of your system. And hopefully, again, if you're listening out there, don't just blindly copy, but if some of that resonated with you and seemed to make sense, then absolutely incorporate it into your life. And I hope everybody's out there developing those habits in each of their cores on their way to firing on all cylinders.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Will. It's great talking to you, and I really appreciate your audience as well.
Awesome. Okay, Nita, you have a wonderful one. Thank you.
Thanks. You too.
That's it for the 5 Core Life. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button on this video and pound that subscribe button so you get notified when new episodes drop. Also, please fill out the free 5 Core Life Evaluator quiz. It's a great way to get a baseline of where you are in the 5 cores and which of the 5 cores you need support. In addition, you'll get some actionable advice that you can apply and start improving your life in the areas that you need it most. That's it for today's episode of the 5 Core Life Podcast. Have a wonderful day.
Get moving. Gain momentum. Join the movement. Join Emmett by going to moremomentum.com to take a free life evaluator quiz on where you currently stand in each of your 5 cores.